The creators of Stranger Things have hinted that 4 characters will die in the series finale. And if that's true, well, this ending's going to hurt. Today, I'm predicting who those 4 characters will be, how they can die, and I'm ending with one twist death that almost nobody's ready for. We're going in reverse order, starting with the least impactful and ending with one death that would redefine the entire show. Death number 4, the logical but quiet loss. Jonathan Byers. Let's start with the death that makes sense on paper, but wouldn't shake the fandom up the way others would. Jonathan is in a dangerous narrative position heading into the finale, not because he's reckless, but because his story feels complete. His character arc is basically finished. He's grown into someone calm, reliable, and selfless. His relationship with Nancy has already ended emotionally. There's no unresolved romantic thread pulling him forward. And, when you think about it, he stepped back from leadership. He supports, he doesn't lead. That combination often signals one thing in a finale, a quiet exit. How Jonathan could realistically die? I think maybe sacrificing himself for Will or Nancy. Jonathan's death wouldn't be flashy, it would be instinctive. That's who he's always been. Picture this, Hawkins mid-collapse, gates opening, creatures spilling through, panic everywhere. Will is overwhelmed, frozen, feeling Vecna's presence stronger than ever, or Nancy perhaps is trapped, injured, unable to escape something closing in. Jonathan doesn't hesitate, not because he thinks he's a hero, but because protecting them has always been his role. He steps between danger and the person he loves. He draws the creature away so Will can escape, or he holds the line just long enough for Nancy to get clear. Maybe he manually seals a gate knowing he won't be able to make it back through. There's no speech, no slow motion moment, just Jonathan doing what he's always done, making sure someone else survives. Jonathan dying this way would devastate Joyce, a mother who fought the upside down twice but still loses a son. Could push Will forward in a profound way. Losing the brother who's always protecting him would force Will to stand on his own. And it would give Nancy closure. Not romantic, but meaningful. Jonathan choosing her life over his own. But here's the honest truth. Jonathan isn't a fan favorite on the level of Steve, Hopper, or Eleven. His death would be sad and grounded and painful, but it wouldn't dominate the finale. And that's exactly why it fits death number 4. Jonathan's death wouldn't be remembered for how loud it was, but for how natural it felt. He didn't die being a hero, he died being who he always was. Death number 3, the wild card sacrifice. Every big finale needs a death that surprises you, but doesn't break the show. That's Murray. He's not a quirk head, he's not the emotional heart, but he's been around long enough that losing him would still hurt. He fits this role perfectly because he's comic relief, which lowers your guard. He's brave in a reckless way, not a heroic one, and he's constantly inserting himself into situations he's not really built to survive. Murray doesn't fight smart, he fights urgent. Why he's in danger narratively. He exists in the cracks of the story. He knows too much. He goes where others hesitate. He fills gaps when plans fall apart. In a finale, characters like that usually don't make it out. They buy time. How Murray could realistically die. Sudden, chaotic, with no build-up. Picture the final act. Hawkins is fractured. The upside down is bleeding through everywhere. Joyce and Jim are trying to escape or something close. When the plan goes wrong, maybe a generator fails, a door jams, a mechanism needs to be held manually. Murray's the one who notices first, not because he's brave, but because he's always watching. He shouts something, half joking, half panicked. "Go! I've got it! Just move!" He stays behind longer than he should. There's no slow motion, no swelling music. 1 second he's there, the next he's gone. Maybe it's a creature. Maybe debris collapses. Maybe he takes a hit meant for someone else. The moment doesn't linger. The group keeps moving because they have to. His death works so well because Murray dying does several important things at once. It adds realism. Not everyone gets plot armor. It raises the stakes. If Murray can die, well, who else feels safe? It hits emotionally without hijacking the ending, especially for Joyce and Hopper, 2 people who already carry guilt and loss, and most importantly, his death wouldn't be heroic, it would be necessary. That's what makes it sting. The aftermath of his death would be quiet but heavy. There's no funeral scene, just a look between Joyce and Hopper later. A pause. A realization they don't even have to say his name. They don't need to. And that's the point. His death wouldn't be remembered for how big it was, but for how fast it happened. 1 second making one of his jokes, the next he would be gone. A reminder that the final battle doesn't care who you are. Death number 2, the one everyone expects, and why that matters. Steve the Hare Harrington. Now let's talk about the death that everyone is bracing for. Steve Harrington, the babysitter, the protector, the emotional backbone of the show. From a pure story logic perspective, Steve is the easiest character to kill. He's always on the front lines. He instinctively puts himself between danger and the kids. He doesn't have a clearly defined future waiting for him. If you were outlining the finale on paper, Steve would be circled in red. This is the death that everyone can picture. Steve saving Dustin. And let's be honest, we can all see how this would happen. Chaos everywhere, the upside down bleeding through Hawkins. Dustin is cornered, maybe injured, maybe frozen in fear as something closes in fast. Steve doesn't hesitate. He never does. He charges in with whatever weapon he has, a bat, a spear, his bare hands, buying Dustin just enough time to escape. Then, Steve takes the hit. One last look back, maybe a half smile, maybe a run, not a speech. This is the death that fans have been emotionally preparing for since season 2. And that's the problem. I don't think Steve will actually die. Steve dying would be sad. It would hurt. But it wouldn't come as a shock to anyone. We've been predicting Steve's death for multiple seasons. The Duffers know this. They know Steve's sacrifice has become an expected ending, almost a trope at this point. And finales don't aim to fulfill expectations. They aim to subvert them. Why surviving is the real twist. Instead of dying, imagine this. Steve jumps in front of the danger. He still saves Dustin, but this time, he lives. Badly hurt, possibly scarred, changed forever, but alive. And this sends a very different message. You don't have to die to be the hero. Protecting others doesn't always mean self-destruction. Growth doesn't automatically end in sacrifice. Steve surviving says something powerful. The babysitter finally gets to live for himself. Steve started this show as someone who didn't think about consequences. Now he's someone who carries them. Letting him survive rewards his growth, breaks the expectations of the protector dies trope, and makes the finale less predictable. In a weird way, Steve living would actually be more shocking than Steve dying. Death number 1, the inevitable end. Vecna, Henry Krill. This one isn't a prediction, it's a requirement. Vecna has to die. Not be sealed, not be trapped, not be banished to another dimension, completely destroyed. Because as long as Vecna exists, nothing truly ends. Why Vecna can't survive the finale? He isn't just a villain. He's the source of the Upside Down's corruption. The reason Hawkins keeps bleeding into nightmare. The physical manifestation of trauma, rage, and power without humanity. As long as Vecna lives, the Upside Down can always come back. The gates can always reopen. Hawkins can never truly heal. And most importantly, Eleven's story can end while he's alive. Their connection is too deep, too personal. This isn't hero versus monster. It's survivor versus abuser. Vecna's destruction likely would collapse the Upside Down. Without him, it couldn't sustain itself. Sever supernatural influence permanently, no more gates, no more bleed through, and forces Eleven to choose humanity over power. She doesn't have to become a god, she becomes a person. That choice matters more than the kill, because the real victory isn't Vecna dying, it's Eleven not becoming him. His death is non-negotiable, because there's no version of Stranger Things where Vecna survives. He can't be hidden again, he can't be dormant, he can't be waiting. If he lives, the story doesn't end. And finales don't leave doors open, they close them, hard. The shocking twist death, the one that no one expects. And now the death that no one's ready for. Not Hopper, not Steve, not Eleven, Dustin. The heart, the humor, the kid that made the darkness bearable. Dustin's death would be truly shocking because he's the emotional safety net of Stranger Things. He cracks jokes when things get too heavy. He believes in people when they don't believe in themselves. He's the one character the show has always used to relieve pain, not create it. That's exactly why his death would hit harder than almost anyone else's. The audience is conditioned to believe that Dustin is untouchable, and that's what makes this a twist. Dustin has always been too curious, too willing to stay behind, and too eager to fix things himself. He's also the one who understands the Upside Down logically better than almost anyone else. And in a finale, that kind of character just doesn't explain the problem. They solve it, but at a cost. How Dustin could realistically die would be a sacrifice that no one sees coming. Picture the final collapse. The Upside Down is destabilizing. Vecna is dying, but the damage is already done. Something has to be shut down manually. A frequency jammer, a resonance point keeping the dimensions locked together. Dustin figures that out first. Not because he's brave, because he's the one that understands the science. He realizes there isn't time. There isn't another option. And if he doesn't do it, someone else will die instead. Maybe Steve is hurt. Maybe the younger kids are trapped. Maybe 11 is completely spent. Dustin makes the call. He doesn't announce it. He doesn't cry. He just says something, painfully Dustin like, "Hey, this is going to sound really bad, but I think I've got it." And then he stays. The moment that breaks everyone. The system overloads. The gate collapses and Dustin just doesn't come back. There's no dramatic final shot of his body, just the silence where his voice should be. Steve realizes first. And that's where it really hurts, because for once, Steve couldn't save him. Dustin dying would shatter the emotional foundation of the show, break Steve in a way that nothing else could, and force survivors to finish the fight without humor or comfort. It says something brutal, something that the brightest light is the one that burns out first. Why this twist would be remembered forever is that Dustin isn't supposed to die. That's the rule. Breaking that rule tells the audience that no one was ever safe. The cost was real. And growing up sometimes means losing the thing that made it feel okay. The show began with kids on bikes laughing. Imagine it ending with one kid who always made it feel like they'd be okay. Not there. No joke, no grin, no Dustin. Just the quiet realization that the world was saved. Now, will any of this actually happen? Honestly, who knows? I could be completely wrong. I could be half right. Or the show could still find a way to break us in a way that none of us saw coming. But that's the thing. After all these years, after everything these characters have survived, well, it can happen. We only have a few more days to wait to find out and see how Stranger Things really ends. No more theories, no predictions, just answers. If you enjoyed these predictions, make sure to hit the like button and hype the video so more Stranger Things fans can see it before the finale drops. Subscribe if you want reactions, breakdowns, and emotional damage when the thing finally ends. And drop a comment below. Who do you think doesn't make it out alive? And, I'll see you on the other side.